Hey, what's going on? This is another pre-Chiro podcast episode. We are just trying to build context around the path to become a chiropractor. Today, we have Dr. Tracy Norman coming to us live from out in Jamaica. Thank you so much for joining and sharing with the prospective students of what this path looks like. So can we just get started by you just sharing a little bit about what your background was before you became a chiropractor and what attracted you to become one?
For sure. Thanks for having me. I feel like thank you for your spontaneity. That's what tends to work in my life best. So I grew up, I'm Dr. Tracy, if anyone doesn't know me. I grew up receiving care from when I was 2 years old. I was really sick before that, asthmatic, lungy kind of girl, and nothing worked. I was in a medical family, so they had me going to the best, pediatricians and whatnot. And it wasn't working until my parents discovered chiropractic. And then we know how that works, right? I was shortly able to get off all the drugs and medication. I was sleeping through the night, happier kid, happier parents because of that. And it just stayed in my life regularly. And I was really young when I said I wanted to be a chiropractor. So it's something I always knew I wanted to be. Like I never really thought of anything else besides being a chiropractor.
Amazing. So did that shape the experience that you had going through high school and college, knowing that you wanted to become a chiropractor? How did you go about preparing for chiropractic school?
I think I probably got very disconnected from myself, like a lot of teenagers do, and had amazing Katina Manning as my chiropractor then. So she was really good at reconnecting me to my spirit, my soul. And I went to undergrad at Clemson University and went straight from there to Life, and I ended up transferring to Life West. How did it prepare me? I just knew the courses I needed to take to get on that path, my prereqs or whatnot.
And you said you transferred schools was there anything unique about transferring from one school to the other, and what were the motivations?
So I happened to transfer during a time when Life lost its accreditation. So there was about 30 something of us that all transferred together. So the uniqueness was it was really fun. We all went from Atlanta to California. We had an extra year and a half of school, so it wasn't easy, but it was a great experience for our development, I think, as human beings.
And can you talk about like what that transition was coming out of school, like a little bit about the path that you chose and how you ended up to be where you're at today?
My path isn't unique at all. It's not the typical. I think I remember studying Part 4 boards and everyone knowing where they wanted to go. And I just wanted to travel the world. I did. I wanted to take my table and my heart, my hands, and travel the world. And I didn't really know how to do that. So I literally said a prayer. I was like, God, where do you want me to serve? The next day I got a phone call from Jamaica from my friend's family, because I had been there on some mission trips and stuff. And they said, we know you're graduating. Jamaica loves you. We love you. Why don't you come? And it was a really yes in my heart. So I was here for not too long, maybe under 6 months. And then Dr. Katina called and said, you've always been my kid. You grew up in my office and I've always wanted you to work in my office. Will you come work with me? And I never really wanted to go back to Massachusetts, but she was such a mentor. I couldn't say no. So I went for a year and a half. And during that year and a half, I really learned how to manifest. I was applying law of attraction and doing vision boarding, and something I didn't mention before, but that was big, as I always was very attracted to Maui, and I wanted to go to Maui, but I didn't really know how to make that happen when I graduated. So during the year and a half at Katina's, I was really actively like putting my focus on manifesting that. And so I quit my job at Katina's to go travel and explore the Hawaiian Islands. And I ended up like on tour with Toots and the Maytals, if you know them, a reggae band with their chiropractor. And it was a real, like my spirit needed to be free, not like in an office, And so I eventually made it full circle around to Maui, opened a practice. I was there for about 4 years, built a beautiful practice in an amazing community, and just knew it was a chapter, knew it was like this piece of my soul, like it was a chapter. And I was very clear when it was time for that chapter to shift. And it was right around the time when the tsunami came in Japan. It was like the big tsunami, Fukushima, right? And Spirit was like, whoa, I'm really far from my family. So series of events, like I left for the summer, got someone to cover my practice, sold it. And I left with like my table and a backpack thinking I was going to go travel the world. And during some of those travels, I went with Arno over to Spain and taught seminar and ended up traveling a little. But then I ended up back in Jamaica, full circle, thinking that I was coming to a yoga retreat. Jamaica just really held on to me, and I would try to leave and I'd come back. And it was like this force that wasn't something that I was thinking about. It was like a feeling of like, oh, I got to be here. So that's why I ended up here. And then met my husband and got married and pregnant, and here I am. Never could have planned this one, am I? It was not something I could logistically plan. I just really allowed my life to unfold this way.
But can you speak to how you allowing your life to unfold, that sort of nonlinear, intuitive approach, was directly sort of in alignment with what chiropractic was promoting or expressing through you? I mean, the education that you got becoming a chiropractor, did that sort of lead you there, or were you already like that before chiropractic?
I think I've always been a little different in that way, but I do think that chiropractic really helped me to trust life and to trust my heart and trust that inner voice on a different level. But I think a lot of my training with like doing the Masterpiece training camps and then being on staff with Arno really gave me a foundation for allowing my life to unfold with ease and synchronicity versus force things to happen. So yeah, I have, my spirit just really thrives with being able to express myself more freely, I think. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, it's just been, I do think chiropractic definitely played a big role, and chiropractic philosophy played a big role in me choosing or allowing this path to unfold.
So I've also traveled the world and offered chiropractic care within cultures that I was, brand new to, and maybe didn't speak the language beautifully or in a way that I could communicate much more than just like, lay down or explain some real basics. What's it been like for you in Jamaica? How has the community around you received you and chiropractic, and what's the experience been like for anybody out there that might be wondering, like, how could you just pick up and go to Maui or pick up and go to Jamaica and bring your table with you and make it work?
Maui was a lot easier, honestly. I mean, Jamaica definitely is a developing or third world country. So for me, before I had kids, I'm a mom to 2 young boys. Before I had kids, I was doing a lot of mission trips where I would, a couple times a year, lead these self-care and service trips where people could come and, have amazing, luxurious retreats and then go out and serve the community. And I like operating from that place. Jamaica's interesting. There's like very, very, very poor and very, very, very wealthy, and there's not really the middle. So, being here and living and surviving and creating a life is a lot different than showing up on a mission trip just to serve. So I've also had to like figure out how to create my life and pay my bills and whatnot here. So I'm going to be really honest with you. My biggest, and this might not be the answer you want to hear, but my biggest suggestion to people is have an additional stream of income, because that allows me to serve more freely and on the schedule I want. And like I was a couple of years into practice when I realized like high volume is not my thing. It's not what fuels my spirit. It doesn't feel good in my body. It's not the pace I want to work at. So I really had to discover additional streams of income so that I can show up and be really true to my energy, my body, and my spirit. So Jamaica's amazing. I'm kind of like fading out of practicing. I have a very gentle, slow practice right now. 2 half days a week is really what feels good for me. But now that my boys are a little bit more grown and they're not as needy of my constant attention, I would love to pick up and do more of the mission trip stuff again, because I do
Mhm.
feel like serving on that level in this country, and it's important. Like, I feel
Mhm.
like I need to do that. So
Mhm. Okay, so the audience that might be watching this conversation are people that haven't even gone to chiropractic school yet. So,
yeah.
do you see a place for having some pre-chiropractic students join in a service trip that you're facilitating out there? And if so, what role do you think they might be able to play? Or,
Okay,
um,
pre
mhm,
pre chiropractic. I mean, it would just have to. It would depend on the intention of the trip. It would be. Everyone loves to be loved, and Jamaicans. There's always a need for some sort of service, whether it's getting them to breathe, or
mhm,
there's a need here for so many different things. So I think it would just depend on the intention of the trip.
mhm,
And I mean, people come to Jamaica all the time to serve on so many different levels. So I think if it was people who weren't chiropractors or they weren't in school yet, we would just have to get clear on what their purpose would be. Yeah,
mhm.
but I've been on trips before where like people's spouses have come and they're not chiropractors, but they always find somewhere to give back.
And can you speak a little bit about what the experience is like going on a service trip? Obviously, every single one's different based on the intention of the person going on
Mhm.
the trip. But how does that experience look to someone who will one day become a chiropractic student and go on one? How can we help build context in their eyes for why that's a good idea? Why you should consider going on one? How could it be helpful in that process to become a chiropractor?
Well, the moment that I first heard of mission trips when I was in school, I knew in my heart, like, this is really profound, because it affects not only a person, but their community, their family, their community, their island, or their country, whatever, on a really profound way. And we know that as chiropractors. So for me, I've been on several, and it's definitely shaped me to be able to serve selflessly. That's the big thing. I think it's very different to serve selflessly than to have to figure out, like, how many people do I need to serve to live and exist in my life. But I think that people need to be touched. People are not touched. A lot of countries that host mission trips and that host these service trips are countries where and I'll use Jamaica as an example. Like, this country, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of abuse, there was slavery, there's like generational trauma. And for people to know that you're here just serving them, and you want to help them, I think that is where the healing begins. Just to know that they feel like they matter, and you're here to give them something, give them an experience that they otherwise wouldn't have. So,
Mhm.
but as a student or a pre-student, I think it really helps you to realize how big this gift of chiropractic is, or this gift of what we do is, when you can show up in that level. Like, it's a very different experience to be able to show up and just serve selflessly, and
Mhm.
know that on some level, whether it's cellular or on their soul, you're making some sort of difference.
Mhm.
People people have a lot of traumas, and they have a lot of stuff, and through chiropractic, I feel like we have a gift to help move that through them. And so, even if
Mhm.
you're a pre-student, maybe it's like you just put your hand on their shoulder and you're talking to them. Guess what starts to happen? They relax and they breathe, and they
Mhm. Mhm.
feel comfortable, connected.
Yes. Yes. What do you think it would mean to the island of Jamaica and just the whole culture if there was like a clear pipeline or pathway to inspire kids to become chiropractors and come back and serve their communities? I mean, let's say we had 10 times more chiropractors practicing in Jamaica just for the sake of serving. What would that mean for the island, or do you think that that's even possible?
Well, like, I need it now. I'm so subluxated, honestly. It's like one of the things I think I'm like self-sabotaging myself a little being here. I'm gonna say it right out, because there's not a lot of great chiropractic care here. There's just not. There's some chiropractors, but when you've had like masterful adjustments, there's a
Mhm.
really big difference. So I tend to prefer to have people come visit. So if there was like so many more chiropractors here, it would be amazing. It would be really, really amazing. And I think there would be a lot more peace individually in people's lives, and then in families and in the community. I mean, there's a lot of violence here, and there's a lot of trauma here, and there's a lot of hurt, and people living like in a reactionary way because of their past and their upbringing. And so I think if there was a lot more chiropractors here to serve, it would bring a lot more peace and a lot more healing, and hopefully get the message out that we're just not just about back pain, because that really is like you can say it over and over and over again, but the more people experience it and start to live it, you realize it's so much more, and it would be a ripple effect.
Yes, yes. Well, that's what we're doing here. We're just really trying to reach out. Hey, if you're a student and you're thinking of what to do with your life, how you can make an impact, how you can live in harmony with nature and give back to your community and support your family. And this is potentially the best way that you can do that, potentially, if it's right for you. I'm just putting it out there to the universe, and I'm hoping that we can inspire more people from Jamaica to hear messages like this. I also had a student at Life University who's from Jamaica share a bunch a couple weeks ago about how he's looking forward to going back to Jamaica. And his name is Legend Born.
Okay, nice.
So
Do you know, there's also actually a woman that I adjusted here a couple of years ago is at Life University too, Elizabeth Monroe. She's amazing. So she's really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, yeah, of course. I mean, I think there's just going to be more chiropractors everywhere. You know?
We need more.
Yeah, we need
more solid adjusters.
Solid adjusters. Well, and here's the thing that I always tell, like when people come on my trips, like I have a prerequisite that you have to have had tonal work. You've got to have some sort of network or BGI making love to the spine, because there's just so much abuse and trauma in people's bodies that if you're going to come and just like not connect, like I don't really want you to be putting your hands on people, honestly.
Yeah.
And
that's the secondary the goal of pre-chiro is to really increase the standard of prerequisite experience, knowledge, practice, what have you, so that when you arrive to school as a student, we know that you're ready to really go down this path in a way that's conscious and honoring of other people, and also aware of how big this thing that we have called chiropractic is. So
yeah, it is big. And to be frank, I'm going to just tell a story. I had an adjustment not recently, it's like probably a year ago. But over the last several years, I've had some trauma, and I've had some mosquito-borne viruses, and I've had some stuff that's just like stayed stuck in my system. And there's a chiropractor here, and he went to a school that they're not even allowed to say the word subluxation. And it was a very mechanistic school over in Europe. And but I just needed an adjustment. I was like, oh, I just need it. So I got on the table, and he did not tune in, and it hurt. It actually really hurt. It was horrible. And I just was like, oh my God. And then I didn't say anything, but he checked in the next day. He was like, oh, how are you doing? And I said, honestly, I'm kind of mashed up. I'm like, can you come back? And so he came back, and I looked at him and I said, are you open to some feedback? And he said, yes. And I just said, but I just said to you, I've had some trauma. I didn't feel like you tuned in. My body can't take that much force right now. And I feel comfortable telling you because, first of all, I want a chiropractor. So if you're open to like some suggestion, I'd love you to try again. But also because I can. The public is not going to say that to your face. And most of them don't even know what a good adjustment is. So this is the picture that's being painted, this is what it is. And he was open. He was open to the feedback. I taught him some more like graceful ways to adjust me. And it was like a world of difference. But you see, like if you don't have that, if you haven't experienced anything different, you don't know, right? So I think being able to like guide people to the people who are going to train them to have mastery is really important.
Yes. Thank you for so eloquently putting it. And I will let you get back to your dynamic life of mamahood and chiropractor and doing the other things that you're busy doing right now. I really appreciate you having this spontaneous and this organic discussion with me. And if you're a prospective student out there, Tracy, can you just tell them a little bit about your trips that you facilitate and maybe how to connect
Sure.
with you?
It's been years, but it's definitely on the radar. So you can connect me on Facebook. I'm friends with Ben Tracy Norman or Dr. Tracy Norman. So DrTracey Norman, Norman @gmail.com are the two best ways to find me. And if there's enough of you who start to message me and you're wanting it and desiring it, we'll make it happen. I just need people to like kind of give me the nudge, and that will be enough fuel to get me into action. You know, of course, if you can still travel, who knows what's going to happen down the line. But I'd love to have you come, and I would love to reignite that spark within me to serve on that level. So
awesome, perfect. Yeah, let's make that happen.
Okay.
Island needs it. Thank you so much.
Bye, Ben.
Bye. Have a great day.